In the middle of winter, a baby sleeps alone in a stroller on a sidewalk in Reykjavik, while the parents calmly sit inside a cafe. But this is not an act of neglect time, 3 says, and the reason behind it will make you see Iceland in an entirely different way. On this island of only about 400,000 people, nearly 7 out of 10 children are born to unmarried parents. The country has no standing army, and it once sent bankers to prison. Beneath the ice lava continues to break through the ground, while local people eat shark that must ferment for months before it becomes safe time. Before we begin, subscribe, leave a like, and tell us in the comments what makes you most curious about Iceland. Now, let us explore the land where fire and ice have never truly been enemies. Number 15. Iceland and the Women's Revolution. After spending enough time around Icelandic women, what stays with you is not only their Nordic beauty, but also the independence reflected in the way they live. Behind that image is a view of family life that still surprises many people in the Western world. Nearly 7 out of 10 children in Iceland, or almost 69%, are born to parents who are not married. This is not treated as a scandal, and a single mother is not viewed as a cautionary example. It is simply a family formed in a different way. This way of life comes from the belief that a woman does not need a husband to live a complete and meaningful life. Iceland has ranked first in the world for gender equality for 16 consecutive years. In 1980, Vigdís Finnbogadóttir, a single mother, became the world's first democratically elected female president. Icelandic women also do not take their husbands' last names after marriage. In 1975, about 90% of women across the country stopped working for one day. They did not go to their jobs, cook meals, or care for children. The country nearly came to a standstill, while many fathers had to take their children to work and manage everything on their own time. The message from that day has never disappeared. Beauty is not the whole story. What matters more is a society where a woman's life is not built around dependence on men. Number 14. Iceland. When a family does not need to share one last name. In Iceland, family names do not really exist in the usual sense of one shared last name representing an entire household. As a result, even within a family of 4, each person may have a different last name. Phone directories are not organized by surname as they are in many other countries. Instead, people are listed by their given names, including the Prime Minister. During the winter, if you walk past a cafe in Reykjavik, you may see baby strollers standing outside on the sidewalk. Inside them, infants are sleeping while their parents sit in the warmth of the cafe. To visitors, the scene may look like a child has been left unattended. But to Icelanders, it is completely normal because they believe that cold, fresh air helps babies sleep more deeply and breathe more comfortably. That sense of trust also comes from living in a society with a very low crime rate, where parents have little reason to fear that anyone will disturb the stroller. Marriage is not necessarily the starting point of a family either. Many couples live together for years, have children, and build a stable life before deciding to marry, or choosing not to marry at all. The wedding may come only after the family has already existed for a long time. Behind this system is the logic of a small and isolated country, where much of the population is distantly related. A person's identity is connected to their parents, rather than to a family name passed down through many generations. Number 13. Iceland. The land of the strongest men. With a population of only about 400,000, Iceland has produced an astonishing number of strongman champions for a country of its size. For centuries, strength here was not something displayed for entertainment. It was a necessity of daily life. Farm workers once proved themselves by lifting and carrying the Husafell stone, which weighs more than 400 pounds, over a set distance. Completing this challenge was seen as a sign that a young man had become strong enough to enter adulthood. On remote farms, where machinery was almost non-existent and the weather was constantly harsh, people had to carry stones, drag heavy loads, and work outdoors for long hours. A powerful body was not simply an advantage, it was essential for survival. Alongside physical labor, a diet rich in fish and lamb, combined with Viking stories that celebrated the strongest men, helped create a culture that deeply values physical strength. For this reason, the secret behind Iceland's strong men does not come from dietary supplements or modern gyms. It was shaped by nearly 1,000 years in which strength could determine whether a person survived. This also explains a humorous saying often repeated by Icelanders: "Life would lose some of its meaning if you could not deadlift." Number 12. Iceland. The land that eats ice cream in snowstorms. Icelanders' favorite treat is not a hot dish, but ice cream. They eat it throughout the year, even in darkness, during snowfall, or when a snowstorm has completely covered the streets. At times, the temperature drops to around 23 degrees Fahrenheit and ice coats the windshields, yet people still drive to ice cream shops and wait outside to buy soft-serve ice cream. For Icelanders, an ice cream shop is more than a place that sells dessert. It is also a gathering spot where people meet and maintain a sense of connection during the long winter months. When the weather keeps everyone indoors for too long, a small habit they choose for themselves becomes a simple way to resist the gloom. Alongside ice cream, another famous street food is a hot dog made from lamb, beef, and pork, served with crispy fried onions and a sweet brown sauce. The Bejarins Bestu Pilsur stand in Reykjavik has served this dish for nearly 80 years, and Bill Clinton once waited in line there. A fully loaded hot dog is called Eina med öllu, meaning one with everything. Icelanders also drink around 400 bottles of Coca-Cola per person each year. That equals almost 8 bottles a week, compared with about 3 bottles for the average American. This love of sweetness makes the rest of Iceland's menu even more difficult to predict. Number 11. Hot pools and Iceland's energy secret. In Iceland, almost every town, no matter how small, has a public geothermal swimming pool. However, the most important area is often not the swimming lanes, but the hot water pools beside them. People soak there throughout the year, surrounded by rain, snow, and freezing air, while thick clouds of steam rise from the water. Time freezes for Icelanders. For Icelanders, these pools serve almost like public squares, where neighbors talk, news spreads, agreements are discussed, and relationships are maintained. Before entering, everyone must wash thoroughly without wearing a swimsuit, because these pools use very little chlorine. That natural heat comes from the most dangerous part of the island, the fire deep beneath the ground. Around 9 out of 10 homes are heated with geothermal energy, while nearly all of the country's electricity comes from renewable sources, creating one of the cleanest energy systems in the world, T3ZS. Inside heated greenhouses, Icelanders can grow tomatoes, cucumbers, and even bananas, despite living close to the Arctic. The famous Blue Lagoon also began by accident, forming from water released by a power plant. In Iceland, fire and ice are not truly in conflict. They exist together and shape the way people live every day. Number 10. Iceland. Strange rules found nowhere else. In Iceland, the unusual rules begin with the names you are allowed to give your children. Beer was once banned for 75 years, even though wine and spirits had already returned to stores. The ban finally ended on March 1, 1989, and the date is now celebrated every year as Beer Day Time, threes. Choosing a name is not entirely up to the parents either. A child's name must appear on an official list, or receive approval from the Icelandic Naming Committee. There are currently more than 2,000 approved male names and more than 2,000 approved female names. Any new name must also follow Icelandic grammar and spelling rules. The reason behind this system is connected to Iceland's parent-based naming tradition, in which a given name must combine naturally with terms meaning son of or daughter of across generations' time. 3s. This respect for rules appeared very early in Icelandic history. The Althing Parliament was founded in 930, giving Iceland one of the world's oldest parliaments still in operation. However, another record has recently disappeared. Throughout recorded history, Iceland had almost no mosquitoes because the climate was too cold for them to reproduce. By October 2025, the first 3 mosquitoes had been discovered, suggesting that even the isolation of this island is gradually changing. Before we continue, if you are enjoying this video, take a second to subscribe to the channel Time Seekers 3s. Every subscription gives us more motivation to uncover fascinating stories, invest greater care in each video, and bring you an even better experience times 3s. Thank you for joining us. Now, let us continue. Number 9. Iceland and life along the rift between 2 continents. Iceland's ground is far less stable than its frozen surface appears. After nearly 800 years of silence, the Reykjanes Peninsula in the southwest has awakened once again. Since 2021, the region has erupted around 12 times, while one specific stretch of land has split open 9 times since December 2023 alone. The most recent eruption lasted 21 days during the summer of 2025. Scientists warn that this is not an isolated event, and similar eruptions may continue for many years. In Grindavik, a fishing town of about 4,000 residents, the entire population was evacuated near the end of 2023. Streets were torn apart, magma pushed upward from below, and much of the town remains empty to this day. This is a modern community, abandoned not because of war or economic collapse, but because of the ground beneath it. Icelanders did not simply leave. Work crews built massive barriers from rock and soil to redirect the lava, while monitoring systems continue to wait for the next series of tremors. Once conditions are confirmed to be safe, residents and visitors move closer again to watch glowing red lava burst into the night sky. In a place where 2 continental plates are slowly pulling apart, danger is carefully controlled and transformed into one of the rarest spectacles on Earth. Number 8. 4 hours of daylight and winds that tear car doors off. Iceland's sky is just as harsh as the ground beneath it. Around December, Reykjavik receives only 4 to 5 hours of daylight. The sun usually appears close to 11 in the morning and disappears before the afternoon is even over. When summer arrives, everything changes completely. Near the summer solstice, the sun barely sets, and people can still mow their lawns or play golf at midnight. The greatest danger, however, is the wind. Iceland lies directly in the path of North Atlantic storms, so from autumn through spring, wind gusts can become powerful enough to tear car doors from their hinges. Car rental companies even offer separate insurance for wind damage. The weather can shift from sunshine to sleet, and then into a blinding whiteout within only a few minutes. Local people often say that if you do not like the weather, wait 5 minutes. During the dark and stormy months, Icelanders do not try to defeat winter. They rely on hot pools, close-knit towns, and a calmness that has become part of everyday life. That is how they keep life moving forward. Perhaps it is this habit of facing the darkness together that has kept Iceland among the 3 happiest countries in the world for many years, while also shaping the harsh survival foods found on their tables. Number 7. Hákarl, the shark dish that challenges even the bravest travelers. Iceland's most famous traditional food is Hákarl, made from Greenland shark meat that can be dangerous if eaten fresh. The flesh of this shark contains high levels of urea and harmful compounds, so for most of Iceland's history, it was nearly impossible to use as food. Icelanders still found a way to prepare it. They buried the shark in the ground to ferment, then hung it to dry for 4 or 5 months, until the harmful substances broke down. The final product consists of pale pieces of meat with an ammonia smell so strong that it can make the eyes sting. It is often served with a type of schnapps, nicknamed Black Death. For visitors, the experience is rarely pleasant. Anthony Bourdain once called it the worst thing he had ever eaten. While Gordon Ramsay was unable to remain calm at the table, another chef compared its texture to chewing on a mattress soaked in an unpleasant odor. But the shark is only the beginning. During winter festivals, Icelanders also serve singed sheep heads that are split in half and boiled, along with dishes made from sheep organs. These foods were not created to shock anyone. On a cold island without refrigeration and with summers that were far too short, people once had to ferment, salt, and dry every part of an animal to avoid starving before spring arrived. Today, Icelanders eat these foods as a source of pride and as a reminder of survival. Would you dare to try Hákarl? Number 6. When Iceland sent bankers to prison. When the 2008 financial crisis erupted, most countries chose to rescue their banks. Iceland did the opposite. It allowed the banks to collapse, then prosecuted the people who had managed them. Around 36 bank executives were convicted, receiving combined prison sentences of more than 90 years. Instead of protecting financial institutions, the government focused on helping ordinary people by canceling the portion of mortgage debt that had risen above the value of their homes. Within only a few years, Iceland's economy recovered faster than those of most European countries. The important question is not only why Iceland imprisoned bankers, but also why so few other countries took similar action. Another major difference is that Iceland has no standing army. National security depends on the Coast Guard. Yet the country has still been ranked the most peaceful nation in the world for 17 consecutive years. In everyday life, crime is so rare that many people leave their doors unlocked. Young children can sleep outdoors, and the Prime Minister can drive through Reykjavik without a security team. After the crisis, citizens also worked together to draft a new constitution. Although the document was eventually blocked in Parliament and never became law, it still revealed a society willing to question how power operates. Even in Iceland, however, progress can still be stopped. Number 5. Iceland's purest free water. When visiting Iceland, many travelers still worry that they will need to buy expensive bottled water. In reality, this is almost never necessary because the cold water flowing directly from hotel taps is considered among the cleanest and purest in the world. Most household water begins as melting ice, then passes through layers of volcanic basalt for decades. This natural process works like a massive filter, removing impurities without the need for chlorine or extensive chemical treatment. As a result, when you turn the tap to cold, what comes out is not ordinary tap water. It is water shaped by ice and volcanic rock. If you turn on the hot tap, however, a smell similar to rotten eggs may immediately fill the room. This does not mean the water is dirty. The odor comes from sulfur in geothermal water deep beneath the ground. Icelanders use this water to heat their homes, provide hot water, and relax in warm pools during winter, but they do not use it for drinking or cooking. The rule is very simple. Let the cold tap run for a few seconds, so any warm water left in the pipes can clear out. After that, you can drink cool, pure water, completely free of charge, instead of spending money on bottled water throughout your trip. This small tip is worth remembering when traveling in Iceland. Number 4. Iceland and its belief in the hidden people. In one of the world's most modern and developed countries, Icelanders still hold a belief strong enough to make even construction engineers reconsider their plans. It is the belief in Huldufolk, or the hidden people, mysterious beings often associated with the elves of Icelandic folklore. According to several surveys, more than half of Iceland's population says they do not completely reject the possibility that these beings exist. For Icelanders, this is not merely a story told to tourists. It is a genuine part of local culture. Time. In real life, some road construction projects have been temporarily stopped or redirected after machinery repeatedly malfunctioned near rocks believed to be homes of the Huldufolk. Instead of continuing to flatten the area, road authorities chose to change the route and avoid the site. Living on an island where the ground can split open and volcanoes can erupt at any moment, Icelanders understand that humans can never fully control nature. Time. Trees. For that reason, belief in the Huldufolk is not necessarily just superstition. It is also a way of leaving room for things that cannot yet be seen or clearly explained. It also reflects a sense of humility, reminding people that in the face of the land's immense power, humans should show respect, pay attention, and live in harmony with the natural world around them. Number 3. Iceland's strange dating app. In Iceland, dating sometimes begins with a rather unusual step, checking whether the person in front of you is a relative. With a population of only about 400,000 people living in isolation in the middle of the ocean, combined with a naming system that does not use permanent family surnames, accidentally dating someone who shares your ancestry is not entirely unheard of. To avoid complications, Icelanders rely on Íslendingabók, an online genealogical database containing information about the island's residents across more than 1,200 years. Using this database, a mobile application was created with the humorous slogan, "Bump the app before you bump in bed." When two people bring their phones close together, the application checks both family trees. If it finds that they share grandparents or are too closely related by blood, the system issues a warning to prevent an uncomfortable situation. Time. Threes. This unusual story shows how Icelanders combine tradition with technology in a highly practical way. In a small country where most residents can be connected through many generations, data does more than help people trace their ancestors. It has also become a tool for navigating romance in a way unlike anywhere else, even within the modern life of this remote island. Number 2. When a volcano becomes an oven. Across a land constantly heated by volcanic activity, Icelanders have used the warmth beneath the ground to create rugbrauð, a traditional rye bread prepared in a remarkably unusual way. Instead of using an oven, they mix rye flour with sugar and milk, place the mixture inside a sealed metal container, and carry it to a geothermal area near hot springs. The container is buried deep beneath the warm soil, where the natural temperature reaches around 212 degrees Fahrenheit. Time. 3 Z's. Over an entire day, the steady heat from underground slowly bakes the loaf without fire or electricity. This gradual process allows the dough to retain its moisture while developing a deeper sweetness than ordinary bread. When it is lifted from the ground, rugbrauð has a dense yet soft texture, a flavor similar to caramel, and a subtle mineral aroma found nowhere else. Every loaf also carries the character of the land where it was baked. At the table, the bread is usually cut into thick slices, spread with Icelandic butter, and served with smoked salmon or pickled herring. Time. What makes it special is not only the flavor, but also the way Icelanders have transformed a harsh landscape into a source of nourishment. Instead of fighting the heat beneath the ice, they learned to use it to create a warm and simple meal that has been preserved across generations. Number 1. Iceland, where astronauts practiced walking on the moon. In 1967, 2 years before becoming the first person to step onto the moon, Neil Armstrong traveled with other NASA astronauts to Iceland's remote Askja Highlands for training. While preparing for the Apollo missions, NASA needed to transform military pilots into careful geological observers who could identify rocks and collect samples in a completely unfamiliar environment. Time 23's. Askja was chosen because its volcanic landscape was almost entirely treeless, covered only with basalt rock, volcanic ash, and vast lava fields that resembled the surface of another planet. Under these harsh conditions, the astronauts walked across rugged terrain, practiced using geological hammers, studied maps, and selected rock samples with scientific value. They had to take notes quickly and explain why each sample deserved to be brought back. Neil Armstrong was not the only one. In total, 9 of the 12 people who eventually walked on the moon received training in Iceland. Time 3's. Today, across this vast and isolated landscape, Icelanders still proudly remember this remarkable story. A place that seemed almost beyond our world helped humans prepare for a journey beyond Earth, contributing to one of the greatest achievements in the history of space exploration. After everything we have seen, Iceland is more than a land of volcanoes, glaciers, northern lights, and foods that make travelers hesitate. What makes this small nation truly different is the way its people live with forces they cannot control. Amid a constantly changing natural world, they have learned to trust one another, remain calm in the face of danger, and turn hardship into an ordinary part of life. Perhaps Iceland's secret is found neither in fire nor in ice, but in a society that understands people do not need to defeat nature in order to live well. Subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and tell us in the comments, what impressed you most about Iceland?